So like I do with all these movies that are based off of another medium, I'm going to be reviewing the film itself and not seeing whether it's a fair like adaptation from its source material. And it's very rare that I do come across a movie that I am familiar with what the movie's based off of. I mean, there's very few comic books and graphic novels that I've read before seeing a movie, and I'm not familiar with this source material at all. It's based off of a Japanese manga series, I believe, so I have no idea what I was getting into. And as far as the movie goes, there's a lot about it that I liked. First off, the movie looks incredible. The CG is so crazy good in this film, especially with the character of Alita. She's probably the best recreation of a human performance that I've seen in a very long time. I mean, when you're recreating a human performance like Alita or any other movie that has a CG character that's supposed to look human, it's always lacking that like special something. I can never really pinpoint what it exactly is. And the technology's made leaps and bounds over the years, but it's not quite there just yet. But this movie gets ridiculously close to achieving that goal. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the world building behind this film. There's this big lore behind the story, and there's this big war that happened hundreds of years ago, and there's these bounty hunters that they call hunters, and all these people have cybernetic enhancements in one shape or form. And I got really interested in seeing these little pockets of elements of the story, and I wanted to see more of that go on and learn more about the world that the story takes place in. But the thing I enjoyed most in this movie were the characters, especially Alita and her the doctor that finds her. His name escapes me for some reason for right now. I'm kind of embarrassed that I forgot the doctor's name. But those two characters I gravitated to the most, and mostly because of the performance behind them. Rose Salazar is phenomenal in this movie. She is so good in this role as Alita. She carried the entire movie for me. I mean, she made bad lines bearable, and I'll get to one of the gripes I have with this movie a bit later, but all the problems I have with this film, she really carried me through and kept me interested in this movie because she is so good in this role. I mean, she's able to convey the strength that is required of this character with at the same time giving her this amazing like innocence to the role. Also, Christoph Waltz has a pretty good performance. He does what he can with the writing on this film. And again, I'm going to get to that in a little bit, but he does a very good job, and his chemistry with Alita in this movie is very good, and I gravitated towards these two characters the most, probably because their relationship is a lot like a father-daughter type of dynamic, and being a father of a little girl, I just sort of I grabbed onto that and I wanted to see a whole lot more with them. And the movie goes off into other tangents and things like that, which leads me to the more weaker points of the film. And kind of the biggest problem I have with this movie is its writing. The writing is just not good in this movie. The screenplay is an absolute mess. The dialogue is just sometimes hard to listen from other characters, but Christoph Waltz and Rose Salazar do their best, and they elevate the dialogue because of their performances. But everybody else, it's kind of painful to listen to at times, and the story is like all over the place. It was really hard to follow characters' intentions and what exactly they wanted. I felt this movie would have benefited from simplifying the plot a bit. This film could have easily been split into two parts. And had it been simplified a bit more, I would have enjoyed the story a whole lot more. And like there's certain story elements that don't get developed quite as much because they have to focus on all these other moving parts. And the storyline that I'm interested in doesn't get as much time as this other one that I really didn't care about. There's a romance in this film that I just wasn't buying, again, because it's so underdeveloped and it just happens so quickly. And I felt that had they would have simplified the story, you would have been focused in on Alita's intentions and this other character's intention, and just simplified things. It would have been so much more impactful, and you would have been able to care about these characters a bit more. And I think that's what plagues movies like this that are based off of novels and graphic novels and comic books and other sources of storytelling, that the people that are familiar with these stories are like, well, why'd you leave that out? That was important here. And they commonly forget that you need to be able to adapt it for the screen. And some things that work well in a comic book or a novel don't necessarily translate well to the screen. And I felt that this movie just couldn't decide on what story to tell. There's like, well, let's make the fans of this property happy and just shove it all in there, and the story really suffers. And there's so many moments in this movie that it's like, all right, this is where the movie ends. Oh no, okay, we're still going. Okay, this is where the movie ends. This would be a great place for this movie to end. and it doesn't end, and it just keeps going and going. I'm like, oh my god, this movie is unnecessarily long. It's about 2.5 hours. I felt you could have cut a couple storylines and tightened a couple of narrative elements and just simplified the plot, and it would have been a really healthy 2-hour movie, I feel, and I would have enjoyed it a whole lot more. But now I want to hear from you. If you saw Alita Battle Angel, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to like and share it, and stay updated on all the videos going up on this channel. Give the subscribe button a click. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.